Hello, hello. Welcome for another episode of the Self-Published in 30 Days podcast. Hey, it's your host with the most, your main man, Darren and Palmer. So excited to be with you today. I got a special guest on today. I have Miss Jasmin Dandy on, who was born in Perry, Oklahoma, as the youngest in a family of six. And at the age of 7, her family moved her um, out to California. There's where she later met her husband, Mr. Joe Dandy. The two currently have 3 children and reside in Henderson, Nevada. Her writing career began with creating plays, seeing the audience's enjoyment of her stories and engagement in the emotions that she developed in the script were inspiring. Thus began her career as an author. Her passions include reading, traveling, food, family, friends, animals, culture, history, and art. Welcome to the Self-Published 30 Days podcast, Jasmin Dandy. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Mr. Palmer. I thank you for having me on the show.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. We had to have you on. So I'm going right into it, Jasmin.
Okay.
Rose-colored shades. Why this book as your first book?
So it's a fictional story, and let me give you a little bit of background first about when I grew up in Altadena, California. It was about 20 miles east of Hollywood. So our schools were heavily influenced by the entertainment industry. And for me, drama was it. All from elementary through high school, drama was it. Our field trips, we went to TV tapings at the Warner Brothers Studios and Universal Studios, or plays in the Pasadena Playhouse. So the art of entertainment has always been an interest of mine, whether it's been through acting, writing, music. All of the arts that capture the emotions of the audience and entertains them has fascinated me. So hopefully that sets the stage and explains the basis for my huge imagination. But this book is a fictional story in the romance mystery category. The story just developed on its own in my head a few years back. And at the time, I wasn't even thinking about publishing a book. It hadn't even crossed my mind at all. But over the years, it just kind of felt like a story that was already told. But the problem was I was the only one who knew it. So that started to get old. And with different experiences in my life, the story just kind of evolved over time to the point where I couldn't contain it anymore. And so when I sat down to write it, it was very therapeutic for me. Once I got it on paper and I was able to just kind of share it with other people and hear their feedback, that's what I enjoyed. So although it's fiction, it's very relatable. My goal was to create a story that really just sucks in the reader. But it takes them to a place where all of us have been, which is the first time that we fell in love, lust, infatuation, whatever you want to call it, where we have that sweet, innocent outlook when we thought that just being with that person would be the answer to all the world's problems. But then with time and experience, we slip into reality and we realize it's not exactly what we thought it was going to be. So many of us have heard that expression of seeing things with rose-colored glasses, which that meaning is, the actual meaning of it is an optimistic perception of something, a positive opinion, often thinking it's better than it actually is. The problem with that expression, when it comes to relationships, it makes it seem like that people are kind of delusional in a relationship, like everyone else sees something that we don't. So typically in a healthy relationship, you see your partner's imperfections and hopefully you see your own, but you just don't dwell on them or highlight them to the entire world. So rose-colored shades is just a spin on that old saying, but it basically means that you reach a level in your relationship where you can balance out seeing the beauty and the imperfections at the same time. So it's like having a balanced, realistic view of both. So I wrote the book to entertain, but it also has a great message.
I love it. I love it. I think I can hear my wife over there in the amen corner or whatnot, seeing the imperfections and loving them anyway. so, I'm glad of that. I'm glad for the rose-colored shades there. Now, Jasmine, I believe environment is important, and I think with you sharing what you the environment you came up in, being close to Hollywood, the whole nine, that it had a great influence on you. But also share with us when we get to the nuts and bolts of it. You are a mother. I mean, first of all, you're a wife, you're a mother, you work, you creating content, the whole nine. But share with us with your busy life and your schedule that you have. Is some people out there thinking, I can't find opportunity or time to be able to create one paragraph. And here this young lady is doing it all the above, like the old school multiple choice questions in class. She's doing it all. So share with them and give some tangible steps of how you were able to create content for the book. Is it blocked off time? Is it a retreat, or are you doing like Hemingway and going to Cuba and looking out of a window and creating this masterpiece? Just share with us the details of how you create content.
I think it's a little bit of both. There are times when you do have to block off time from your schedule, especially when you get to a part in writing that you can't be interrupted. When you get to certain points of the story, you really do have to kind of protect that time and you set it aside. But there were so many times when I would be sitting in the car at, my kids' lessons or, swimming lessons or whatever. I'm sitting there and I have my phone, thanking it for technology. So I'm sitting there in Google Docs just typing in content. And, we live in this world where technology does make it easier for us, so we can take advantage of that. But story ideas just pop into your head, or, content pops into your head constantly. So you want to just make sure that you use that moment. And it could take 5-10 minutes, just sit there and type something in and then revisit it at a later date. But I definitely did that. I definitely blocked off time, definitely took advantage of opportunities when I was in sitting there waiting, doctor's appointments. There's all these moments that you're just kind of sitting there waiting for something. So you got to take advantage of that time.
Carpe diem is what Miss Dandy is telling us about today. Season the day, taking full advantage of it. Exactly. There's always time that you can create. And so, like you said, using technology, whether it's your phone, also for those who, depending on, I know there's some Android users out there, whatnot. If you find an app, or even if it's an iPhone, where they have voice memo, where you can record yourself as well, and later on come back and have it transcribed or whatnot, and that would be a benefit to you as well. So just whatever you can use. You don't have to be the best writer, so to speak, to be able to at least get something down, or have, just hours upon hours just to create like you're doing a dissertation or something. But just make sure that you utilize the time that you do have, because it adds up. It's like that compound effect with the other Darren Hardy talks about. Now, Jasmin, with this book, and I've just been hearing raving reviews about it. But just share with our audience, what gave you the mental fortitude to be able to go a step further? Because this is a level outside of just you being in the classroom now. This is something where you're exposing yourself as well, far as to be able to hear good feedback and also some negative feedback. So to be able to open yourself up to the world, share with us, what do you use, what goes through your mind to help you go that extra step from, I know I can write a book, I know I'm a good writer, to actually writing a book? Because so many people never ever share their story and put it in book form. So what made you make the step?
So honestly, when I set out to do the task, failure was never really a thought for me. Success to me at that time was just putting the story on paper, getting it out of my head, putting it on paper. Growing up, I always kept journals, and I loved to read it. And later periods of time, I love to go back and read and see what my thought process was at my younger self, and what challenges I was going through. And sometimes, it was validating, and other times I saw where I needed to improve on, because I didn't show growth in certain areas. So writing has always come natural. It's always been the easiest and most effective way for me to express myself. But the difference of making it public, like you brought up, the transparency of it and the vulnerability of it, that's something that was more difficult for me. My journal was hidden under my bed, but rose-colored shades, I'm yelling out for the world to read it. So that has definitely been a hard part of the journey, is getting used to that idea. But what has helped me to get through it has been I've had a good support system. And I also have the peace of mind that I feel good about what I'm putting out there. I feel good about the message. And this is something that, my daughter could read it. My mom could read it. I'm not going to be embarrassed with the content. So that definitely has helped.
I'm telling you, she's giving us food for the soul over here today. Miss Jasmin Dandy is dropping those value bombs on us. So I'm glad that you are speaking today, because I know some who are listening right now, and uh, the different elements to creating content. Some might get that, but when it comes to like I said, the mental part, or having the fortitude to get past what others think, but others think.
Mm-hmm.
I love the positive mindset that you had of that. Failure is not an option, and I believe
Mm-hmm.
that so many of us need to have a mindset of burning the ships. It's no way back. Either you're gonna win at D-Day or not, but it's no way back. And I believe it's the same thing for us when you're creating your content for your books. That's why you hear the saying of, where are the best books at? Buried in the
Yeah.
local cemetery. That's the reason why. It's so many people, and don't get me wrong, what me and Jasmin are talking about here as well, it's bigger than just books. Just like she talked about the underlying message in her book of some of the things that are beneficial to people, even though it's a fictional story. The thing is that there are truths to life in this particular book. And what she just shared with us, the importance of not allowing for failure to be an option, is important for all of us to move forward in whatever endeavor that we're doing, whether it's going back to school, whether it's our marriage, whether it's us, parenting, and we having a different, difficult season with our children, of that never quitting or never letting go. Of course, we learn, we pivot, we get better, we seek advice and wise counsel, but failure is not an option. So thank you for sharing that with us, Jasmin.
Yeah, definitely. I did want to also bring up as well is that with my personality type, I have always been the type of person that is a people pleaser. I want everybody to be happy. And so that, how you spoke about the mental aspect of this, that was a huge transition for me, because when I did have people read it and get feedback on it, that was a scary process for me, because you just want to make everybody happy. And it wasn't until it was my husband who actually said, he says, Jasmin, you're not going to make everybody happy. He says, even with the Thriller album that, Michael Jackson sold, everybody didn't like it. And that was like one of the number one hit records. You can't please everybody. And you really have to realize that you're not going to make everybody happy, and you got to take that chance, and that's the scary part about putting yourself out there. I think for me, that was the biggest hurdle.
Putting yourself out there. I'm sorry, but I had a
Mm-hmm.
moment or whatnot. I had a twitch in me. I started having that Thriller theme song in my head. I started busting a couple moves. I started busting a couple moves right here. I'm about to get my cardio on today. You know what I'm saying? Thinking about that Thriller. But you are right. And like your husband gave you those wise words. And that's something else for
Mm-hmm.
those in self-publishing 30 Days Nation. While you listen to this, it's important to have a support, have support, having people who are having your back. So when you do have those moments of doubt or uncertainty, that you're able to have someone who's like, help you stay the course and finish what you started. And another part of the book process, Jasmin, that I don't want to leave without talking about is something that you did when you're doing a book. I just had a conversation earlier with someone today about this. It's an investment to do a book. It's an investment to do a book. And like I said, we don't just get into numbers and like this on here, but I want people to understand you have to be willing to give up or sacrifice or invest your time and some funds into getting a quality product or service done. And so it's not going to just happen and fall out the sky and the book fall in your hand is automatically completed. So you have to keep that in mind for us to process. So I just want to be totally honest, because some will see Jasmin and, oh my goodness, she was writing. Oh, I bet it was easy for her because, she's been a writer all her life. She was born with a pen in her hand or a typewriter. She stayed out of Hollywood. I mean, we can make up all this, but Jasmin still works. She's a wife. She's a mother. She has a host of other things that she has to do, and she still found time to invest in time and sweat equity to be able to get the content created. She also invested, her hard-earned funds or whatnot to invest back in herself to have this dream be accomplished. So Jasmin did something. Her family, her and her husband, they did something. They didn't just sit back on their laurels and just think this was just going to happen. So, Jasmin, speak to that a little bit of being able to not only deal with the mental fortitude far as what people think, but also seeing that it's an investment and still moving forward anyway. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, anything that you're truly pursuing, any goal that you set before yourself, I've heard you say before that you have to invest in yourself. It's something that you have to do in order to understand the value. So definitely has been something that there's so many ways to sacrifice. We waste so much money. When you really look at it, there's so many things that you can waste money on that it doesn't come back to you. It's just pointless. So when you start adding that up and you realize you can take those funds and invest them in something that's substantial and that's a goal for you, then it's something that you can get behind and pursue more fully.
Love it, love it, love it. And Jasmin, please share with the audience, if you don't mind, how can they connect with you, whether it's on social media or if you have a website? How can they pre-order or get a copy of the book? Do you have any of that information?
Yeah, definitely. So my landing page is rosecoloredshades.com, and my Facebook page is Rose Colored Shades. And then on Instagram, you can follow me at Another Dina Story. So it's Another Dena Story. And you can reach out to me via email at rosecoloredshades@outlook.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Make sure you go and get a copy of this book, and not just a copy. Go ahead and get 10 copies. Get enough copies to pass out to somebody else. Have a little, chill time or group uh, for whoever out there who loves a great book club or whatnot, and you're a part of one or you want to create one. This is a story that's going to be amazing. It's going to have you asking about how can you get more. But Jasmin will let you know that you can get in contact with her on social media and whatnot and find out more about her, what she's doing, book launches or signings and things of that such. But I just want to say congratulations to you, Jasmin, because I've been able to see the evolution of where you started with this process and how it seems so far away, and some of the ups and downs, but you stuck it through. You and your husband, your family, and here we are now with you being an author. So I just want to say kudos to you for getting it done, young lady.
Thank you. And you know what? I have to tell everybody that you guys have made it happen. You and your team have been wonderful. So I cannot thank you enough, because when I got to the point where I'm like, I don't know what to do, you guys grabbed my hand and you're like, come on, this is what we're about to do. And every step of the way, you've been so professional and you've been right there. So kudos to you and your team. And I truly appreciate you guys.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for those kind words. I'll make sure that I cash app you for that nice plug. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. No, I'm just those are lucky, but it really is genuine. Genuine. It's the law of reciprocity at its finest. And I'm just, like I said, honored to be able to have amazing clients like you who creating great content and a pleasure to work with. So thank you again for those kind words. Before we get out of here, Jasmin, I want you to speak to that person out there who's who's on the fence, straddling the fence. They know they have a story, they know they have a book, but they're thinking like, well, I'm not Jasmin Dandy, I'm not
Mhm.
Michelle Obama, I'm not Warren Buffett, or I'm not Steve Harvey. I can see why those type of people could put a book out of, but I know I want to share something. But who am I to share something? I don't have a million followers on social media or anything. Could you share to that person out there why it's still important for them to share their story with the world?
Oh yeah, definitely. The feeling of sharing your story and getting out there is exhilarating. It's something that you can't. you can't speak on. You just got to feel it. For me, like I said, when I had this story inside, it was driving me crazy. Getting it out there has been so therapeutic for me. So I want that for everybody else out there. Just do it. Just get it out there. You won't regret it.
Our wise words from a wise woman. We're going to end it on that note. Thank you so much, Jasmin, for coming on to the Self-Publishing 30 Days podcast.
Definitely. Thank you so much again.
Awesome. Awesome. For those who are tuned in, remember that if you want change, be the change. And also know that this is the year for your new book.